Thank you very much for joining me. How you been? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Back. Steve Renazizi. I'm the guy. I'm the guy. Fucking lit. I'm the guy. Steve Renazizi. Lit. I'm the guy. I'm the guy. Fucking lit. I'm the guy. Steve Renazizi. What's the odds? What's the odds? What's the odds? What's the odds?
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It's What's the Odds with Steve Renazizi. Back at you again. You had fun this weekend watching the championship games, and so did we. But we have very different opinions as to what happened. So we're going to get into it today. We'll break that down. I want to talk about the Knicks a little bit and the run they're on. And so, yeah, also Denver was amazing. So I want to talk about that. Anyway, yeah, let's start off with the championship games. So you and I, Brenton, before Lucas got on this fucking joint, we're talking about, the Detroit Lions and different job openings and this and that. Apparently, you're breaking news. So why don't you just break the news right off the bat about the Washington Commanders? Go ahead. I don't know if Lucas,
They
you're
have hired Dan Quinn as their head coach. So Dan will take over. He's got 5 picks in the first 100 picks, and he's got
you gotta
$70
love
million
Washington
in cap space. So they have a lot of room to kind of rebuild, and we'll see.
You gotta love Washington. I thank God they're in the NFC East because they make the Giants look sane and they give us a good rep. We're not the worst because they have all the options on the table, really, legitimately all options on the table. They got brand new ownership. They got a lot of money. They want to make a good name for themselves, a big splash. So, and look at the year you have. You have all these options. You have all these people. You have Hall of Famers. You've got college coaches that win. They interviewed they finally found Lane Johnson, who was like unbelievable. What coordinator of the year? He turned the Lions into an offensive juggernaut, and they wouldn't meet his number. It doesn't make sense. So then they land on the defensive coordinator that just gave up, I don't know, 1 billion points to the youngest team in the NFL in the playoffs at home.
The 7 seed.
Who lost in the Super Bowl to a team 28-3 leading at halftime. By the way, 28-3. So is that on the offense or the defense? And if he was an offensive coordinator, that looks a little bit better than going into a head coach. But if you're a defensive specialist and you're up 28-3 at the Super Bowl halftime, hello, you think Buddy Ryan's losing 28-3 at halftime, or Bill Parcells, or perhaps Bill Belichick? Oh, a guy that was fucking available to hire? Does that make any sense?
I don't think Bill wanted that job, though. Bill's playing his cards right.
He might not have.
But he sits out this year. He sits out this year, and then a team that doesn't need a total rebuild becomes available. He takes that job. He just wants to break Shula's record. He doesn't give a fuck where he ends up.
So Bill Belichick is out, right? But you still had Vrabel.
Yeah.
You still had all
Even
these young
Pete
coordinators.
Carroll.
They even found the guy. It seemed like they found the guy, and he just wanted more money than you wanted to pay him. So yeah, I mean, what is this? So and the ever never ending, saga, daytime soap opera that is the Dallas Cowboys. Thank God for them as well. But anyway, let's get back to the championship game. The Detroit Lions, to me, okay. Do you want to do game by game, or do you want to do? I just had a feeling about the Lions.
Yeah,
Let's start with the first game. All right, first game. Unbelievable shock. I watched the game, and I said to myself, at what point is Superman going to take off the fucking Clark Kent clothes and put on the Superman clothes? And, he would have a batted pass, Lamar Jackson tip to himself, and then run for 13. I'm like, oh, he's in the phone booth. Here we go. He's putting it on, and then nothing, and then nothing, and then nothing. And I was shocked by the game plan. I was shocked by the fact that you can't really blame the defense too much. Yes, they probably gave up more points than they wanted to. Yes, Kelsey had 100 yards catching in the first half. But if you go back and watch it, they were all well executed throws and catches. Kelsey's touchdown was the perfect throw. And, a lot of guys drop that ball or it gets batted or an arm gets in the way or something like that. But he just tucked it on back shoulder, falling the opposite way. It was a brilliant catch. Well defended by an all-pro guy. Perfect play has to be made. And they make it. It's, that's sending the runner from first with the ball in the gap, and they have to make two unbelievable throws. One from the outfielder, one from the middle infielder to the catcher. Boom, boom, boom. Perfectly executed tag. You tip your cap to them. What are you going to do? So I don't really look at the Baltimore defense as, the main. I go, what are they doing? What were they doing? What was the actual? There were no, we talked about them making adjustments. I talked about them, being on an equal playing field as far as coaching. They got fucking whooped coaching. I don't know if Jim Harbaugh thought he had to out-throw or out what I mean, why not just do what John, the other one,
and Ben Johnson, not Lane Johnson, but go ahead. You're on a roll. I didn't want to.
Ben Lane, Jim, John. I'm just gonna stick to the last names from now on. I'm just saying, I was completely part of. I know it's impossible, but I wish Vegas would have a guy that says oh, the insider enough to go hey, we're gonna do the complete opposite of what we've had success with the entire year. It's gonna be a backdoor game plan. Then I'll lower the spread a little bit, make it a little more manageable.
Yeah,
but not only did they not cover, they didn't win, and it was crazy. It was nuts that they ran the ball 6 times.
That's on John Harbaugh. They're the number one rushing offense on the year. The weakness of the Chiefs defense is against the run. The strength is against the pass. Lamar Jackson's weakness is throwing outside the numbers. And they spent that entire game dropping him back. He was dropping back 10 yards. He's throwing the football 15 yards to gain 2 yards. Huge dropbacks. They don't run the ball. Gus Edwards touches the ball, 3 times? And he's averaging 7 yards a carry. What are you doing? So the game is not fixed, but if you were a conspiracy theorist thinking the NFL wants to move Taylor Swift forward, how do you fix the game? You tell the Ravens, don't run the football. I don't know what they were thinking, because he's a great coach. John Harbaugh is a great coach. But that was the worst game plan you could possibly come up with against that team in that moment. And they didn't have their best linebacker to spy Lamar. He was out.
And they were never down enough or to the point where they didn't have to, where they had to throw the ball all the time. It was always we could still have both options sort of offensive play, but they never varied from just step back. If you gave Steve Spagnuolo 85% of the time, then I read that they drop back and cover. They drop back and give me a break, dude. I mean, without breaking down the pocket and having a good game plan and having a spy on Lamar, they were in his face the entire game. He was probably this is unbelievable as a defensive coordinator. I could send blitzes from various different positions. If I know he's going to drop back, that's half the game plan of going, all right, now I'm going to blitz.
And he's not even taking off to run, and he didn't even try.
No, it seemed like Lamar wanted to be a different person.
He saved his worst game for the biggest moment. That was one of the worst games I've ever seen him play. He didn't want to take off and run. He was trying to throw it deep every time. And then at the same time, it's if you're a coach and you're going, man, Kansas City's kicking our ass in time of possession, maybe we need to run the ball and give our defense a rest, because they were going on 9-minute drives.
Yeah, big time. 9-10-minute drives. And it was, and Kansas City ran the ball. Pacheco ran the ball. They were balanced. And the offensive, they never had pressure on Mahomes. I remember not till the third, fourth quarter, maybe, did they get a sack. And I don't even remember if Mahomes had 1 or 2 times maybe in the whole game where he had a run to the sidelines and throw the ball out of bounds. maybe one or two times.
Yep.
That was it. He was, he was elusive, and he was more Lamar than Lamar. He ran when he had to. He got first downs. I understand when I was listening to who were the Romo and Nance were the guys for that one, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about, the Ravens defense saying they're not going to let Patrick Mahomes slide and look for, they're going to make him feel it in, the most legal sense. But at least he ran. They may have hit him harder, but it didn't stop him from running, getting first downs, extending plays. So he looked Mahomes-ish. And Kelsey, 100 yards and a touchdown in the first half. He finds holes in the defense, and that was it. He would sit on them 8-10 yards. They'd move the ball down. They ran. It's a well-balanced offense.
Yeah.
The only thing defensively, it's like you could look at the Ravens. It's like, how do you not get pressure on Mahomes? Like at some point, we got to
I don't think we can't really knock the Ravens defense because they did a good job against Mahomes, and Kelsey are playing like peak level football right now.
Yeah. I get that.
To compare between this previous week and the divisional round, the Bills defense was able to stop the Chiefs twice that entire game. And one of those was the Mecole Hardman fumble, which was very, very close and kind of a fluke that they even got that stop. The Ravens defense stopped the Chiefs 9 separate times. So this falls completely on the offense, the coaching, the play calling. Like, it's Lamar Jackson. And if there's going to be a narrative that Josh Allen can't win big games when he's literally doing everything he can, you got to put that on the MVP of this season, because he showed us what he is. And we've touched on it on this podcast several times. The guy can't throw outside the numbers. So if he doesn't want to run that day, they're going to have a bad game.
Look, again, he may not be comfortable. He can make any throw on the field. He's got a very good arm, Lamar Jackson. He's got a very
haven't seen it consistently though. Well,
it's I've seen him make throws that probably only him and maybe Mahomes could make. He's got I wouldn't say he's powerful as Josh Allen, but I put him up there with, as far as passing quarterback, with top 5 in the league. If he just wanted to, he's got the ability to. It's not like they asked him to do something he can't do.
I know.
But
he can do it. I know he can do it.
And he
but
didn't
when it
do it.
Matters, has he ever done it? When it really matters, when it's a big game, we're not talking about he's playing somebody and they're up by 30 points.
No, in his 2 MVP seasons, he's this year probably, and he's got 1 playoff win.
2 1 seeds can't make it to the Super Bowl. So.
Again, you got to look. He's not Dak Prescott where you're looking at him like, is this our guy? But it will happen. I'm not saying it's going to happen. He's got the talent to make it happen. But yes,
Flowers,
if you're going to get on Josh
what are you
Allen
doing?
For years,
Zay Flowers, what the fuck, man?
There was no help there. Now look,
you don't commit that penalty. You're close. You're getting in the end zone on that play. You're not 3 yards short, fumbling when you're diving for the goal line because you committed that stupid penalty. Compose yourself.
Chalk that up to just simple. I got to say, youth. That's big time college youth energy where I just made a big play in the biggest situation and I should be able to celebrate. Now look. You can get into the taunting thing. Was that taunting? Should be allowed? Yeah, but it is not allowed. They know it. They were told it.
Celebrate.
And he did it.
But Steve, there's a difference between turning around and going first down, what a catch, pounding your chest, and standing over the guy and throwing the football at him.
The bigger problem I have. So then there's the penalty. Okay, there. But now we get closer, right? And the extension over the end zone, that now needs, I'm sure it's being taught, whatever, but it needs to be drilled into these guys' head. Unless it is 4th down and we need a touch, it's either this or the game is over. Do not extend the ball out for the goal line. But only bad things are happening. Either these guys are, because if you're a defender and I see a guy going to extend, am I going to go to try to tackle the guy and make a legitimate normal tackle? No, because my momentum is not going to stop his momentum from crossing the goal line. My only thing that I can do to make our team victorious in this specific instance is to knock the ball out of his hands. So that's the only thing they're going to do. That's they're going to try to knock the ball out. And I'm sorry, dude, but if you put your hands like this out, extended with no feet on the ground, you're just a diving board across. This is not the strongest. I don't care how strong you are. Dudes will be able to come in with a fist and knock that ball out. And either, best case scenario, your team gets it and we got a touchdown. But look what's happening. They're losing possession, or they're getting it knocked out of the back of the end zone, and they're losing possession on the 20-yard line. Unless it's do or die, you live to fight another day on the half-yard line. That's just what it was, and then to go to the bench, slam something down, and literally cut your finger open, which I don't know. Is that important for a wide receiver?
A little important.
Yeah. So it's, it's youth compounding problems, bro. I'm sure he
made
everybody put their
really bad decisions on that one drive. But
Yep.
I think ultimately it's got to fall on Lamar Jackson and Monken, the offensive coordinator, and Harbaugh, or whoever came up with the offensive game plan. And also, why did you go and sign Dalvin Cook if you're not going to use him?
Yeah. What the fuck?
I mean, you got Gus Edwards, but you're just throwing Justice Hill out there every down. Dalvin Cook's just sitting on the sideline with fresh legs. Like, why not? Because
even if you used him as a decoy,
yeah,
a big old everyone go that way, a boom this way, and also
everyone respects his
sweep
talent.
the other way.
They respect his speed. They respect his talent. And we got to see him at the end of the Texans game last week. It was out of hand, but we got to see him, and he looked good. He broke off a couple of big chunk runs. So what are you doing? Why even get him?
You didn't sign him for the long. It's not like, I don't want to get him hurt for the long term.
Yeah,
you got him for literally this game. These games. This
not
is
one snap.
Ridiculous, man. I don't know what happened. So, I get, I guess if you told me that they were going to completely try to they were going to go, transition into another team, and the AFC Championship game, then I wouldn't have gone so heavy on them.
Yeah, I mean,
we did cover on the under.
We got 3 out of 4 bets.
We did. I laid them all individually, so I ended up winning money.
Yep.
And I did a small one on the parlay. So we did get the under because thank God Kansas City
did what we thought Baltimore was going to do.
And they ran the ball, and they were like, we got a lead, and we're not going to we're going to keep Lamar off the field, and because it only takes a couple of times. That throw to Zay Flowers, it's like boom, boom. They could have scored 21 points before you were like, what the fuck just happened?
Yep.
But
I should say before we go on, because it just sounds like we're shitting on the Ravens, we have to give Kansas City their props, because Mahomes is now approaching, like, if he goes and he gets another Super Bowl with arguably the worst team he's ever had, he's approaching that he's the GOAT versus Brady's the GOAT conversation. To go to 6 straight AFC championships, basically
and win half of them.
Go to the Super Bowl. What is this?
This would be
fourth?
Third. No, I'm saying
this will be his 4th Super Bowl.
No,
right?
4th Super Bowl, but this would be his 3rd win. He lost one.
Yeah. So I mean, and he's 7 seasons into his career?
Yeah, and I mean, what is he? 27, 25, 27,
like 28, maybe 29.
So look, now
he's 27, 28.
Here's the deal. He's trending there. Now, the thing that makes the difference between him and the GOAT is, like, is he going to be doing this in 10 years from now? It's going to take 10 years to catch Tom Brady, dude.
And then
you are not going to have...
How much longer does he have Andy Reid?
Exactly. On the planet Earth, for God's sake. So, I mean, what's the over-under on Andy Reid being on the planet Earth in 10 years? Let's just be honest about that. So
10 years.
You're not getting 10 years of right now football the way it's going right now. So, but the years that they're capitalizing the fuck out of those years.
And if they win the Super Bowl this year, there are rumors that Kelsey will be done. So he would lose Kelsey. Now Rashee Rice has stepped up, but
No,
obviously they're
you
going to
think the
need
two
more.
of them are going to retire together? Him and his bro, hand them off.
I mean, that's the rumor. If they were to win, and then he'll just go and marry Taylor Swift and be her tour manager.
What a life! What?
That's just what I'm hearing. That could just be a rumor planted by the Swifties.
When
Who
you
knows?
wish upon a
But it
star.
would open things up a little bit, especially in that
Well,
division.
let's get into the conservative conspiracy theory. They would probably, yes, he would retire. They would announce their engagement and then be stumping for Biden come September and October. Yeah. So if you want Kelsey Swift out there stumping for Biden, then he can't be out there playing football. So yeah, you might be right. The Democratic National Committee probably is going to get him to retire.
I'm hearing they win. He's going to propose during the celebration on the field and also retire.
Then Mahomes doesn't win the Super Bowl next year, but then Kelsey gets Swift pregnant, and he's like, I can't be around this right now, this pregnant lady. I'm coming back to football. Biden's in the office. I did my duty there. I got Swifty pregnant, and Mahomes didn't win a championship without me. I'll come back and win. And it's Andy Reid's last season, and they go back and win a championship. Yeah, dude. I love it.
That's
I just
the
wrote the script, guys. There it is. You heard it here first. So all right, let's get to the second game because speaking of scoring 21 points and feel like you got punched in the mouth, that's probably what the Detroit Lions and the fans feel like. It was, I had no dog in the fight. Sorry, Michael Vick, but it was I wanted to see Detroit. I wanted just because it's like you want something to happen. Plus, we had bet on Detroit covering, so I'm like, I got that, and we got the over. So again, guys, what's better than gambling? Within reason and for fun, but like it just makes it more. You're in it now.
Yeah.
So they start off like this couldn't have gone better, right? It couldn't have gone better. March down, get the ball. All right, San Francisco wins the toss. We want the ball. Let's give it to the Lions, and then go fuck yourself. Right down the field, touchdown, run, throws. Laporta, Gibbs looks great. Amon-Ra, St. Brown. Everyone's fucking crazy. Goff looks well timed. It was awesome. Then the defense stops. It was just great. Like Hutchinson block. Hutchinson's the new fucking JJ Watt because he's blocking more balls. Like, do they? Oh, they don't do the extra point anymore. Close. So, do they really get a chance to? Like, did they have him on the extra? Because he could probably fucking stick that big paw up and get.
I don't think he's out there on extra points.
I mean, maybe not to get him hurt, because however they do it now, but. I mean, he's disruptive as fuck. Either he's going to sack you, get close, and make you feel uncomfortable, or if you do find a lane, he's going to throw his hand up because he had so many of those, batted down balls. It looked like, wow, they're the better team. They're playing balanced both sides of the football, and it was like San Francisco looked like shit. We're going to get our asses kicked. Like this could be the beginning of an ass kicking. And so to me, I'm like, okay, now we get into Dan Campbell's decision-making, the points going forward, when to go for it, when not to. I don't mind it in the first half, at the end of the first half, take the points because you already won the first half. It's just a cherry on top. It's almost like a cherry on top. If you go for it and you don't make it, yeah, you won the first half on the scoreboard, but now you've just given them a little bit of extra momentum. I don't mind that at the end of the first half.
I do.
You do? Okay, go
I
for it.
do, absolutely.
Why?
Look, the guy, everyone's going to say that's his thing, and he gambles, and he's Dan Gamble, and it's literally, the people say that's how he got there, but that's what also cost them in the biggest moments was him gambling and fucking it up. You realize this game was played in San Francisco, but when they lost to Dallas, if he had just kicked the extra point and played for overtime and come out on top in that game, and then won the next week, which they did, and San Francisco lost, they'd be the 1 seed. They'd be playing this game in Detroit. But he went for it 3 times for an extra point instead of just kick the fucking ball. Take the points. You're in the playoffs. Points.
Let me tell you something. Okay, number one, I partially agree with you. There, you should coach differently for different situations.
You can't
Week
just
2 game, then you do.
blanket analytics.
But I will say this. Beyond just having to fly and stay in a hotel, there was no home field. There was no weather. Conditions were perfect. Yes, the fans, but the fans were not crazy. Like, it's not, you're not going to fucking
There's a big
Buffalo.
difference between having crowd noise when you're on offense and the other team having crowd noise when they're on offense. And you think
it didn't
Brock
affect
Purdy
their
and
offense
San
at all.
Francisco- I know they did a good job with that, but you don't think that Detroit's crowd inside, I've been in that stadium, it gets very, very fucking loud. And I think it was 2 weeks ago, they had the loudest, like they measured the decibel, they had the loudest noise ever recorded inside of a dome. So you're telling me they're in the conference championship for the first time in 50 years or whatever it was, and they're not going to be loud for a chance to go to the Super Bowl? Like that, there's a huge, huge difference.
Yes, I understand there is an advantage to home field, but I'm just saying it wasn't like it wasn't a climate thing and it didn't really affect the game plan as much. Yes, it is tougher to play with crowd noise on the road, but my point is this: the way he got there was, going for it, gambling and so those decisions don't necessarily, to me, weigh as much as the ones he made in the NFC Championship game, regardless of where it was played. Because in the second half, look, here's why I don't really mind the first going for it in the third quarter. Yes, he could have gone up by 3 scores, right? But this was the beginning of the problem of what happened then. So he goes for it, they don't get it. Okay, fine. Now all of a sudden there's the throw and the bounce off the helmet and they're in, right? So you're like, fuck. Okay, well, that decision didn't pay off. Okay, fine. But it took extraordinary circumstances to happen what happened. Now they get the ball back. Second play. Now you're like, okay, fine. Well, we're still up and I'm now going to run the ball, which is what everybody yelled at him to do, run the ball. And he runs the ball and he hands it off to Gibbs and he fumbles it. And Kansas City gets the ball back, already in the red zone. So now, and then they go in, they score. So now all of a sudden you're like, fuck. Like, not only did we didn't get it, then the catch, then the fumble, and they get the ball back, and it's a tie game. So the decision looks way worse, but it wasn't like he was like, there was an interception. Then they stopped him. Then they came back and they fumbled the ball. And then they stopped him. And then he went for it on 4th down instead of getting points and going up more. When you're like, dude, how many times are we going to press our luck? This was the beginning, the first decision. So to me, I'm like, that was the wrong decision, though. Being him,
but that's the wrong decision. He's failing his players. He's failing the team. He's failing the city of Detroit by making that decision because you go up by 3 scores. You're playing 30 minutes of football. You go up by 3 scores, that means San Francisco has to get 3 to 4 additional possessions off of you in order to catch up. You take the points. You don't keep this stupid jock mentality of I gotta keep throwing it down their throat. Fucking score the points when you can get them and get to the end of the game and you're going to the Super Bowl. That's all you had to do. San Francisco's not getting 5 possessions to tie the game if you take those 2 field goals. It's just not happening. There's not enough time left.
I think,
and you didn't give them momentum. You gave them all the momentum. That's what analytics doesn't measure. It doesn't measure momentum. It doesn't measure.
If I'm trying to build, I understand that, but if I'm trying to put myself in Dan Campbell's shoes at that point, I'm saying to myself, I got to keep these guys being 15 and his fucking gang of merry men off the field because my defense has done very well so far, but we are a bend and try not to break defense. And we are bending every single time in the second half. They were getting moved upon every single time. So the levees were breaking. And I think he might have seen that. He might have noticed, holy shit, the levees are breaking here.
He didn't see that, though, before he made the first decision.
Felt it.
He gave them momentum.
Me getting 7 points instead of 3, and also possibly taking another 2-3 minutes off the clock is more beneficial to me because I do have all the momentum. Remember, this is a point where he had all the momentum.
Okay. Well, then
I have all the momentum.
I would argue.
Okay. Well, let's go to the fourth quarter.
You've named. Well, no. Let's stick with this one because then to your point of what you're saying, then I would argue. Okay, he's going for it on fourth down. He believes for all those reasons that you said that's the right decision to make.
Yeah.
You've named a lot of star players on that Lions offense. Why then are we rolling Jared Goff out to the opposite side of his throwing arm and throwing it to Josh Reynolds? Why is that the play call? Josh Reynolds, the third wide receiver, when you have basically the number one wide receiver in football as far as receptions on the season, you have Sam Laporta, who's probably going to win Offensive Rookie of the Year.
Okay.
You have Jahmyr Gibbs. You have David Montgomery. Like, why? Okay. And even Jamison Williams is having a crazy good game. Why Josh Reynolds?
Here's what I would say to that. If I'm Dan Campbell, right, and I would say I'm not going to, because I'm not going to throw my offensive coordinator under the bus. I'm going to say that all falls on me, and we got to look at our decision-making process.
Yeah.
But I bet you he probably knows that's not the best. But it wasn't his play call. Dude, he's managing feeling and game. Like, the specifics, like, that's what you leave to your offensive genius, who's probably going to get another job and won't work for you in a couple weeks. So, he left it up to him. Now, I bet you if you asked Lane / Ben Johnson, was that your best? He probably would say that was a shitty fucking call. And just like in the fourth quarter when he went for it instead of, run and play instead of the pass play, he's like, we missed the block, and I thought I could catch him off guard. If we don't miss that block, I'd like to run that play again. But, execution stuff. So, by the way,
was it 2 weeks ago? Remember how excited we were I think it was the wild card round where he actually kicked a field goal instead of going for it on fourth down? And I believe they won that game, right?
They did.
So
and they were.
Why didn't he learn from that? You're on the road. You have to know if you don't get the first down, you are giving this entire crowd, you're giving this entire team, you're giving them new life. Even down by 2 scores, you are giving them an opportunity to be back in this football game. It's 100% on Dan Campbell. Go up by 3 scores. I don't want to get
analytically cunty with you, but I'm sure some fucking nerd ran down a piece of paper and said, here is whoever their fucking kicker is. I don't even know who the fuck the Lions kicker is. Matt Prater? Is it Matt Prater?
No, it was the guy that he was a former Charger. What's his name?
Michael Badgley.
Michael Badgley. Yeah. Okay. Here are his percentages of making this from this exact, and it's probably like 66-something%. And you take that number versus 54% of the time you'll get the first down if you go for it. And that 14%, is that worth it versus the momentum versus the time of the game? And Dan Campbell just goes, no, go. Because you know what else? Fucking the crowd goes nuts for us instead of, stopping fourth downs, miss field goals. As you can probably tell, as a Buffalo Bills fan.
Way more of a momentum shift if you stop someone on fourth down versus them missing a kick. And he had made his extra points. Like, he was kicking the ball fine. He would have made that kick. It wasn't that far.
Okay, whatever. I'm just saying. It's, again, I'm not going to crucify him for any of the first. Let's go to the fourth quarter one.
Okay.
This is where you have a very good argument, because now we're backpedaling. And so we can't be the gunslinger anymore. And you got to realize sometimes when you are in the defensive mode, and I'm not saying you're like just got to run the clock out, but we got to make sure that we get as many opportunities to get points on the board. Now, running the ball, my biggest problem that he did was run the ball with three. When you have 3 timeouts, right? That is the most when you need 2 scores, that is the most valuable asset you have, is 3 timeouts. Okay? If you have 2 timeouts, you might as well have 0 timeouts. Okay? 3 timeouts is the magic fucking number. because that is your only ability to be able to score and not have to rely on a fucking onside kick. You can legitimately stop them if your defense wants to 3 times and stop the clock and get the ball back with no timeouts, but also then an opportunity to put up another score. So by going for it and running the ball and forcing your team to take a timeout, although you still had 2 left, now you might as well have no left. You might as well have no left. Because you're still going to have to do something that is, to me, the most hard thing to do in football. What is the hardest thing to do in football in the last 3 years, since they changed all the rules? It's got to be an onside kick. What has occurred less? It has to be. So because you had that one was dumb. That one was not a smart one. I don't care if it's going to try to catch them off guard. I don't care if it's that's the nuclear bomb, dude. That's like, you can't, like, we don't have many onside kick plays planned up, Dan. So we got a lot of throwing plays. Why don't we go with a throwing play here that we have more choices from than the fucking one pray to God Almighty that the ball goes high enough in the air and far enough that anyone can jump up and get it. That's your only chance for an onside kick. So that was not, that's the one that you got to look at and go, fuck. Now, whether that's Lane Ben Johnson or Dan Campbell, but if you're the head coach, you got to say, I don't know what the play is here, but it better not be on the ground. I better not have to call timeout after this. That's all I'm going to say. So you again, those are decisions that you look back and you go, dude, bad, not great. So to me, that was the biggest one. Whatever got him to that point, whatever, when he decided to take points, not take points, go for it. We argued him out, but I think that one was the one where you're like, dude, you got to holster the gun on trying to catch people off guard and be the crazy, who knows what's going to happen head coach. And that was it. And so to me, did it cost them? No. Was it the ultimate thing? No, but it was Amon-Ra St. Brown, drop balls, like a first down. Like there were some just plays that they didn't do in the first half.
That was late in the game, though. That was momentum had shifted, and that was because of Dan Campbell. I'm not convinced Dan Campbell, his players played good enough to win that game, and Dan Campbell made bad decisions because I don't know if it's his ego or just he is that set in his ways, but we say it all the time. The really good coaches adjust, and you have to understand the game that you're currently playing in. Not, this is what I've done in the previous 25 games. It is the game that you're playing in, and his decisions that he made on going for it and onside kick and when to take his time out and just not talking to Ben Johnson about certain play calls. Like, his ability not to adjust in that second half cost them the game. His players played good enough. Now, the football bouncing off of the helmet and Ayuk catching that, like, that's a fluke, but also it's like, we said their defense isn't great, and that should be an interception. How do you fall? Why are you falling down? Just catch the ball. And he's like falling down.
I know. But I wonder if they would have actually picked the flag up had he not caught the ball. I mean, that would have been a whole other, because they did throw a flag on that play.
Yeah.
It was tough to watch because, everybody wanted the Lions, and it was let's just put it this way, right? So Dan Campbell makes the decision to go for it. They don't get it. Then, they go down, the Chiefs go down, the helmet catch, blah, blah, blah. And then they go, all right, we get the ball. And then Jahmyr Gibbs runs the ball and doesn't fumble. And then they move the ball down again to field goal range, then kick a field goal. It's like, I'm not going to lay it all on Jahmyr Gibbs, but that could have changed the complete, that stops the momentum.
Sure makes DeAndre
boom, we
Swift
turn
pretty,
the ball over. They scored
tempting.
a touchdown, but here we go. We can methodically go back to what we do. and continue to, we're winning the game. We do not have to panic. That could have, that easily could have happened. Now, again, it goes to your
Or
point.
you
Like,
go
the
up
two decisions
17
before that,
points and even though the miracle touchdown happens, you're still up by 10 points and you don't feel that pressure as much to score. And maybe Gibbs isn't clenching the ball so hard as he hits the hole and fumbles. Maybe he hangs on to it because they're a little looser. I just think that momentum, the players feel it. And when you score, you have a TV timeout, you have a kickoff after that, everything slows down a little bit. You're able to relax versus we just got to stop on fourth down. Everyone's going nuts and the offense is immediately out on the field running a play. There's a lot to that.
yeah.
And I mean, you have good points, but I truly believe we watched Dan Campbell fail the city of Detroit in making the decisions because he could not adjust and he had to be, this is my way and this is the only way to win, when it's like, no, dude, you had it. You had it. Just coach a regular football game. You don't have to be this guy all the time. And you did it in the wild card round. We saw you do it. We were so excited that you did that. So you can't say this is how they got there when it wasn't completely that the whole season. And it cost you the 1 seed straight up. That aggressiveness cost you the 1 seed. And now it's cost you the Super Bowl.
Well, what do you want me to do? Fire him, dude?
No, but he needs to fucking relax with the analytics and just coach football. The analytics suck. Analytics don't account for how much more
he's leaning on
analytics
because everyone looks at him like a big dumb fucking jock dummy.
Don't let him look at you like that because you're going to be in the Super Bowl.
And so if he can pass off analytics as like, I'm going for my gut or like I'm doing the things that, the unconventional things, then I debit that off as gut feelings, then that makes him fucking him.
It's not gonna work.
You might need that help, dude. You might not know.
Clearly it doesn't work because you're not in the Super Bowl. And next year, there's no guarantee that you're going to get back even to the championship game. Because Chicago, if they keep Justin Fields and they have all the salary cap that they do and they have their draft picks, they're going to be formidable. And they took Detroit down to the wire in both those games. You got Green Bay that's going to be a year more experienced with a very good coach. Like there's no guarantee. And Minnesota always just kind of seems to be there. There's no guarantee that you even win the division next year. There's no guarantee that you even make the playoffs. So this was their moment, and Dan fucking fumbled it away.
Well, guess what, Detroit? Kill yourself.
Basically.
We'll
see you in 50 years.
From Brenton Biddlecombe. That was it. I hope you enjoyed it.
See you in 50 years.
Enjoy mom's spaghetti for the rest of your fucking existence until the next
just 2.5
generations goes by. I mean, I don't think it was that. I think that they're going to be a good team. I think, could they be like they have a better shot at going back than Philly did. Philly lost both coordinators, and look how they did. They started off 10-1, and then all the fucking wheels fell off.
I don't know. So I think Philly's going to figure it out. Vic Fangio, he'll get that defense back right.
Yes, but what I'm saying, I'm not talking about next year. I'm talking about this year. This year, and they had problems, leadership issues, whether it was players, whether it was coaches. There was an issue at the end of that fucking season, dude. The wheels do not fall off a team that quickly and that badly unless there's a big issue. So a lot of people think it was because coordinators were gone and no one knew who to report to and who was in charge, and there were a lot of different camps. But if you are the Detroit Lions and now you're Dan Campbell and all your guys are coming back and you're going to let's run it back. They're not losing any big offensive guys. They could probably get a little bit better on defense. So, and within the draft, they're in a good position. So I think Dan Campbell will learn from this. And if you put him in the same situation next year, you don't think he's going to be a better version of himself?
I don't know. It's hard to say. I think he probably still goes for it next year.
Wow. Well, we'll see.
I just don't believe that unless he gets somebody working under him that can tell him, like, no, man, just take the points. I don't think Detroit's going to get as far as they want to get. Okay. Sometimes you just take the point. Just take the point. It's a free, just take it.
It's pretty gay, but
Steve, when you lose these games and you're losing by 3 points or 2 points or 1 point. Like, just take the free points.
I get it.
It's like
I want all the points.
when you've got a 15 team parlay and you're through 14 of them, and I'm like, hey man, just take it. You don't need all the money. Just take the profit.
Oh, that's a dig on me because I stuck with your fucking Bills 2 weeks ago, huh?
I told you not to.
Well, and I told you I was going to because it was Lucas's birthday, and I said, ride or die,
You
motherfucker.
cursed his birthday. You could have gotten him a nice present with that money. And instead he gets nothing. He watches them lose and he gets nothing.
I got to be honest. They only offered me 440 or something like that, and the payout was 6 something. I wanted at least a payout in the
take
fives.
the money. Dan Campbell, take the money. It's right there. Just take it.
Speaking of money, the New York Knicks are fucking money right now. They have won 8 in a row, I believe, as of present. 8 in a row. Jalen Brunson's playing the best basketball a New York Knicks has played since I'm skipping right over Carmelo and I'm going right to Patrick Ewing. Because not only does Jalen Brunson can score, Carmelo could score, but Jalen Brunson plays defense. Jalen Brunson has assists. Jalen Brunson is the point guard. Jalen Brunson is the motor of the team. And he is playing at a level that, like, man, it's just exciting because the Knicks have always had a team where it was like, okay, there's a guy that are we going to build it around 3 huge stars and stuff. And I've never been really too psyched about the different huge, I guess, quote unquote, free agent signings they were going to get. But what they did was they went out and they identified talent, undervalued talent, signed Jalen Brunson for what now looks like a fucking bargain. Thank God. I mean, if he was at the end of his deal with the when he got traded from the Mavs to us this year, we would have to fucking it would be a max situation next year.
Mm-hmm.
So, thank God he's not coming to renegotiate yet. He probably will, but let's just deal with this season. He's playing at an unbelievable level. Let's pray, knock on wood, he stays healthy. And I mean, they haven't given up. They have a lot of draft capital. They can use a couple first-round draft picks if they wanted to go out and identify a huge person to get. But with the level that they're playing right now, the defense, it's really great. And the move that they made to get what essentially is the entire Villanova national championship team from, I think it was 2015 or 16 or something like that. What year was that? Was the Jalen Brunson, Hart, DiVincenzo,
2016, 2018.
16. Yeah, so it's crazy. So these guys, I mean, the 3 of them are on the same team that started on the Villanova national championship team. And it's great. So there's no locker room chemistry thing. Now, Julius Randle just got hurt and dislocated his shoulder, but he's been playing great too. I have to say, as much as a hater
type of injury, how long do you typically miss?
Normally if it's like ripped out of the socket, dislocated, you're done for the season because they got to like put Humpty Dumpty's shoulders back together again. But they said it's going to be a couple weeks. Now, they said that 2 or 3 days ago, and you haven't heard anything since. So that no news is not necessarily great news in that situation, but we'll wait and see. Now, obviously, if he's out for the season, that really fucks things up. But it doesn't take away from the fact of how they're playing and what they've done to try to get to this position. Like the effort they play with now. I mean, I don't know if you remember, I took the kids 2 or 3 years ago to the MLK game, and it was like watching a high school basketball team, the JV team, play the varsity team when in like the third quarter, the JV team just realizes that they're not good enough, like they're just not athletically up, and they just turn the ball over and start fucking around. It's like that's what it felt like. And to watch them play now with like great defense, great passing, ball movement, it's fucking awesome. So let's keep it rolling. They go into the All-Star break next week. Hopefully, Jalen Brunson will make it to the All-Star team. He didn't get into the starting, but he deserves to get MVP consideration too. And the fact that if you go to, I mean, I'm sure maybe today or tomorrow, if they announce he's an All-Star, he'll be up. But if you go to like most of the gambling sites, they don't even have him in the top 10 for MVP consideration. So The moment they do, I'll put a little money on him because as far as he goes is as far as the Knicks go, and I think it's been unbelievable so far. And it's been the last month. It's really been the last month that that they've put together this new team that they have now. They've got a Okinawa, or I don't know how you say his name, Obi-Wan Kenobi. He's fucking sick on defensively. Now he just got hurt too, but he's like a 3 and D guy, and that's what we need. A perimeter stop guy, because there's some dudes in the East that you want to try to stop. You want to try to stop Tatum and Jaylen Brown, and sometimes it takes one guy to put on them. You can't put, multiple guys on those two guys. There's not enough players. So sometimes it takes one guy to stop one guy. And they have that guy now. And so with the movement they have and the availability to make some moves at the trade deadline, which I think is a week away, it's going to be sick. I'm looking forward to it. So something exciting after fucking football ends in a week and a half. Speaking of which, wait, there's no more jobs left for head coaches, right?
It's all
No.
done.
It's all done. It's all wrapped up.
Have you heard this? Since we already mentioned one conspiracy theory, this one I saw this morning about Bill Belichick going to the Michigan Wolverines. Have you heard this rumor?
No.
Yeah, and then to tack on top of that, Tom Brady had used 3 years eligibility while he was at U of M, and of course, when he goes pro, you lose that eligibility. But since he's been retired more than a year, he gains that eligibility back. So you got internet conspiracy theorists saying Belichick to the Wolverines with Tom Brady coming back to serve his remaining year of college eligibility at his alma mater.
They already have a head coach at Michigan.
Yep.
Oh,
and
yeah.
number two is like Bill, like the last job just got taken. So how it's not like they're like, oh, Bill Belichick has been turning down jobs left. Like he's been going out to try to get jobs.
He only got one interview. No one else interviewed.
In Atlanta.
Well, he had a second interview at Atlanta, but I'm saying there were 8 teams that had a head coaching position available, and he only got one request from Atlanta. No one else wanted him.
I think he interviewed in LA too.
I don't know if he did.
I'm pretty sure
I
he
don't
did.
think he did.
Because they always wanted Harbaugh. It was Harbaugh until the wheels fall off. There was never
they
really
interviewed other
anyone
people.
else. Yeah, they interviewed other people because they have to. But they wanted Harbaugh. That was their guy. I don't think Belichick was ever in LA for that. Maybe just went to Atlanta, and we assumed he was going to take the Atlanta job, and then it didn't happen.
Yeah, it doesn't say he interviewed.
Really?
Yeah, so he only had 1 out of the 8 teams. Only one of those teams had any interest in him. And that could have just been a formality.
I think Vrabel not getting a job is more surprising to me.
That's crazy. Yeah,
Agreed.
absolutely.
Than almost Belichick, just because of age reasons and, not necessarily based on success, but plus Vrabel will be like, yeah, you got a good GM. Great. All right. I don't have to do everything.
Vrabel to me is like a Dan Campbell without the horrible decision-making when it really matters. He's a very stable, great coach. And honestly, if next year, depending on if Sean McDermott is allowed to call the plays on defense, I think we're going to see the same result, and Buffalo's going to disappoint us. If he allows the defensive coordinator to take that over and we stay healthy-ish and Josh stays healthy, most importantly, I think they have a chance to get back and maybe get over that Mahomes hump and maybe go to the Super Bowl. But if he doesn't, they absolutely have to fire. It's done. There's no, maybe no. If McDermott's out and if Vrabel's available, fucking A, I would take him in a second.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's why that Ben Johnson guy didn't take a job. Because he's like, it's Washington or nothing. I'll probably stick with what I got. It's like they're really the desirable ones are gone.
Yeah.
So it's crazy that the musical chairs have basically stopped and Bill Belichick and Vrabel don't have a job. And it's Mike McCarthy stuck where he was. How many? There's 7 new guys?
8, right?
Yeah.
7 or 8.
I mean, that's about the standard every offseason now. It seems like 20 to 25% of the opening. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It used to be like 5 or 6, and then the last couple of years it's been like 7, 8.
It
Coaches
was
used to get 3
it
years
was 8.
standard.
We got Dan Quinn to the Commanders, Mike McDonald to the Seahawks, Raheem Morris Falcons, Dave Canales to the Panthers, Harbaugh to the Chargers, Callahan to the Titans, Antonio Pierce stays with the Raiders, and Gerard Mayo with the Patriots. So not a terrible list, but yeah, the two marquee names are not on that list. And congrats to Washington with Dan Quinn. Enjoy the 3 years of mediocrity before they move on from him.
Man, you really think? Well, I hope that the Bills don't have to fire McDermott
Well,
next
yeah,
year, but
that
I
would
do agree
mean we
that
win the
he's on
Super Bowl or at least go to the Super Bowl. But yeah, he's definitely on the hot seat.
Okay.
I don't care. I have no loyalty. Even if Josh isn't the guy that wins us a Super Bowl, I have no loyalty. I just want to win one fucking Super Bowl. So give me the result or get out. And don't come in and waste Josh Allen in his prime.
Yeah, dude, you got to do something about getting this guy
Because he's not going to be
everything.
able to, he's not going to be able, he's maybe got what, 1 to 2 more years of being able to run like he's running, and then he has to stay in the pocket and protect himself. So we have peak Josh. Maybe next year is the last year that he's able to do that, year 27. So, like, you got to figure it out right now.
Yeah. But remember, Detroit, it's over for you. You're done.
Absolutely.
So I hope you enjoyed that serious,
Yep.
serious fun time you had this weekend in the first half.
No
well,
one can
3
say
quarters.
it's a guarantee they're going to go back. Detroit
That's it,
could be
man.
a good team next year, but it's only going
Let's
to
go
get
Giants,
tougher.
bro.
It doesn't get easier. It gets
Didn't
tougher.
Ca-
Even the
didn't Campbell say
Giants are going
that?
to be better next year.
Did you
Yeah,
see Dan Campbell crying in his
yeah,
press
he
conference
said
saying he's
that-
telling his
Yeah.
guys like
We probably will never be back here. That's what
Yeah,
he said.
that's it. It's over.
I didn't say it, Steve. The guy said it.
It's tough. That's a tough reality.
Yeah. He fucked up. He fucked it up.
I think they will be back. I think that, obviously the Bears will be better, but they're not going to be perfect. Minnesota probably
if they
be a
keep-
dumpster fire.
I'm saying it right now. If Chicago keeps Justin Fields and they draft Marvin Harrison Jr., I think they win that division.
What
If
about
they
if they
get,
kept
if they get rid of Justin Fields and they draft Caleb Williams, then Chicago is screwed and they'll be rebuilding in 3 years.
what if they kept Justin Fields and drafted Caleb Williams?
That would be a waste of
And
a
did-
pick. Huge.
and did-
You got to trade out of, if you're doing that, you got to trade out of it and get more picks.
Well,
such a
now
waste.
you have a guy that Justin Fields has got 2 more years on his rookie deal, right? You bring him along and you see what you got, and then you have fucking the heir apparent, like a la Patrick Mahomes, a la Jordan Love, a la all these other guys that sat for 2 years, and then you hand it off to him, and all of a sudden Chicago becomes a fucking place that's like
But
quarterback capital of the world.
Justin Fields is good enough to be a top tier quarterback.
So let him be the quarterback for the fucking.
No, but Marvin Harrison Jr. could end up being the next Jerry Rice, and you're going to pass on that to get the replacement in 2 to 3 years for this guy. Like, go and get the Jerry Rice. And then you have Marvin Harrison Jr. on one side, DJ Moore on the other side. How are you stopping that? There's no defense. You can't stop that.
Oh, bro, every defense, everything. What do you mean? How many times have we said how you going to stop that? It's going to be much better than what they have now. Yes, probably. Yes. But it's not unstoppable. It's not the complete answer, and it's not walking them into the Super Bowl.
Pretty unstoppable because you have a mobile quarterback who's probably the 3rd best rushing quarterback in football. Maybe he's better than
Give
Allen.
me Dan Campbell and their offense over that offense, even with Marvin Harrison Jr. Insert whatever quarterback you want.
I disagree.
You got Amon-Ra St. Brown. Jahmyr Gibbs is probably going to be top. I said top 5 running back next year. You got Laporta. You got Jameson Williams on the other side. Stop that. No one did this year except, in the championship game a couple times.
Chicago's defense was very stout against them. Those games were very close
Yeah,
games.
but you know what? Those are
improve
division
Chicago's
games, dude.
offense, and Detroit's defense is not good. So you improve Chicago's offense, you're blowing them out.
Those are division games. So hold on. Yes, it's okay. Jackson wants to stay after school. All right. Look, I'm not saying it's going to be easy for Detroit. I'm not saying it's going to be. We talked about it. They're going to have, they're going to have the harder schedule next year. They're going to be a team that, not like they're going to be probably favored in most of their games. And the ones they're not are going to be really tough fucking games. So they're not sneaking up on anyone anymore. And the road is much harder. So I think that's what he's talking about. But as far as talent, I think they're in a good position, a very good position.
Just on one side of the ball, though.
Well, for right now, yeah. Anyone, anything else as far as football we want to cover? We'll get into the Super Bowl next week. We'll talk about all the picks, all the fucking different prop bets. More information as to hopefully, I mean, everybody's going to be fine, right? Health wise, there's not really too many concerns. I think they're looking at McCaffrey because of his neck, right?
The Chiefs lost to Deans,
Which one?
right?
Oh, 90? Then
yeah, like 7 sacks this year. Yeah,
he had the strip sack, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, obviously that was a big play, and they'll probably miss him, but it's not, to me, I'm like, it's not line moving. I think the initial line right now is what? The San
2.
Fran by 2, right?
Yeah.
It was 2.5, I think, but I think it's moving towards the Kansas City way. Let's just say, as a little preview for next week, I would get on that Kansas City, just for how I feel right now. I'd get on that Kansas City side of the money right now before the line shifts to an even game, or even, where they're giving points away. That's how I feel right now. I've actually even already made a bet in that direction. So, but spoiler alert, that'll be for next week. And we might even have a guest, right? We might have that guy on so yeah, I don't want to, but yeah. Awesome. I was in Denver this past weekend, by the way. Thank you again. If you're listening to this from Denver, I know that a couple of people came up to me after the show and said they were fans of the podcast. Thank you, because I appreciate it, number one. Number two, the crowds and the shows in Denver were unbelievable. So much fun. I say it every year. It's the most fun, the most everything, the best everything. So much like Detroit, it's over for me. That's the best it's going to be, and the rest of the year sucks. So, I mean, I am going to great places. I'm going to Baltimore, as a matter of fact. I mean, I thought I was going there to celebrate, a great Super Bowl weekend with you guys, getting ready for the game. But now you guys can just complain to me about why they didn't run the ball. And that's all I'll listen to all weekend long. That's Super Bowl weekend. Shows at Magoobies. Tickets are at steverenazizi.com for the Friday and Saturday night. 2 shows each night. I got La Jolla Comedy Store. February 20-something, whatever that weekend is. You look at a fucking calendar. You'll know what it is. And Friday and Saturday there, and Sunday night there. So I'm still going out, but Denver was amazing. So thank you very much for those of you who came to Denver. Also, I booked Las Vegas as well. So, and I'm going to Key West. I've never been down to Key West. Aruba, Jamaica. Ooh, we're gonna get popped from YouTube for that.
No, you gotta sing it for like 30 seconds.
On the Florida Keys. I love that song. That song reminds me of like getting up for 3rd grade. I'm like, oh. My mom would have that on the radio, like making eggs and bacon, and I was like, fuck. I didn't do my math homework. You're starting to remember it. And she's all in a good mood. I'm like, what are you in a good mood for, lady? This, this sucks.
She's getting you out of the house. That's what she's in a good mood
I guess. For. Yeah, I was leaving. That's why. Anything else you guys want to add to this fucking wonderful podcast we just did? Probably the best in the world.
I'm going to be at the Irvine Improv all weekend with Chris Porter. Tonight, Friday, nice. Saturday.
Nice. I brought up Chris the other day. I was on Bobby Kelly's podcast, and we were drafting a comedy football team, and I had Chris Porter as a wide receiver 3.
Guy's an athlete. We just played softball with him. He's pretty good.
Pretty good athlete, wiry, long, right? Mm-hmm. Doesn't mind to fucking get physical. I played basketball with him a couple of times too. Good dude. Yo, yeah, go check out Brenton, baby Brenton Biddlecombe, the billionaire, and good old Chris Porter. What about you, Lucas?
Store tomorrow at 10 o'clock, and I
Hell
got
yeah.
dad in town this weekend, so he comes
Who?
out here like
Yeah.
once a decade. My dad.
Oh, your dad. I was like, Dan's in town. I
Yeah.
was like, who the fuck is Dan? Oh,
Dad
your
tour
No.
dad.
2024.
Is he staying with
Yeah.
you or is he
Oh God, no, no. They're in town for a weekend doing a cruise in Mexico next week. I
oh my
finagled my way
God.
out of that.
Thank God, dude. I just got another
Yeah.
alert. There's another diarrhea cruise out of Florida. There's like thousands of cases of diarrhea. And let me tell you, because I'm in New York, dude, and it's like we're the crew, like everyone, all my kids' friends, like that's what they all do for spring break. They go on cruises. And again, I'm sure cruises are fine if I'm not a cruise person. I'm one of those non-cruise people. Like I've never really been on a cruise, so I'm like casting stones for something I don't even know about. But it looks like a death trap. All I think about is people getting mass diarrhea. But they have these commercials for there's this biggest one in the history of the world. It's like 7 times bigger than Titanic. It's called the Icon of the Sea. And every 30 seconds, there's a commercial in New York for all those fucking people like, hey, get out of the snow. Come on down. It's a fucking city, dude. 7,500 people on the boat is max capacity. There's like 4 cities. They call them cities. Tube Land. There's a fucking water tube park on the boat, a 2,000 seat like arena. It's insane, bro. It's nuts,
Nope. No,
right?
thank you.
It's crazy. So to me, have fun, and help your parents and your dad has fun.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
Are they doing like a Mexico, Cozumel, get off the boat kind of cruise, or are they just like,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay, nice?
I would want to jump off the boat. I'm like you.
Yeah, no, it's bad. I don't want to be captured. You're captured.
Mhm.
I mean, you're paying to be captured. What about those people that were supposed to go on a cruise for like 3 years? They sold all their possessions and shit, and then it got like taken away, and now they're like, we don't know what to do. Like, good, you should be homeless. You're dumb. You want to go live on
I
a
mean,
fucking boat?
Steve, there are people. I was reading that housing is so expensive right now that there are these old couples that are going on cruises to live
Yeah.
because being on a cruise is cheaper
Wow,
than living on land.
I didn't think about that. I did not think about that. If you put together those old people packages, the ones that they put together for like 80-year-olds, it's like for 5 days, 4 nights. It's like $111 per person if you're 86 and over. And it's all the food you can eat and like obviously no alcohol. And your room is the size of a fucking coffin. And you have, a port window to look through. But, the jazz bar opens at 5 and you can snorkel if you want to get off the boat. And so, yeah, think about it. Where else are you going to eat and live for $111 for 5 days? And then you just get off, you go to the next one.
Yeah. Well, I've seen that, but they also, one of the cruise lines is actually selling rooms. Like you can buy a room like you buy a condo and you just have it on the ship.
How do you get to it if they're like, oh, we're in fucking
You
Mexico?
gotta,
You're like,
you
shit,
gotta
I want
fly
to get
there.
here.
Yeah, you gotta fly there. Gotta meet them at
Chopper
port.
in like fucking like Donald Trump, just
Yeah.
land on the tube land.
I mean, it's a different lifestyle. It's not one that I want to live.
I say you just jump on the boat, and I don't think they'll ever know. Like, dude, if you get on a 7,500 person boat, you can hide. If you can't find a place to go hide and seek and not get caught, I would just hide and pretend I'm every day is just they're not at capacity all the time. There's got to be open cabinets and shit like that. O'Neill told me about the show this weekend called Frog Airs. It's about people that just one day you come home and like you don't even know it, but someone's been living in your attic for like 3 years, 2 years. Like you leave a door open one day and someone just comes in and then like they eat your food when you're not around or you go to work or whatever. They did a TV show based on these fucking froggers. I bet you could do that on one of these fucking massive boats. You could probably live for years without anyone even knowing. I'm sure there's technicalities, international waters and shit, but I bet you there are people doing it. If you know someone that's a frogger, please let us know. Please write into the show.
We'll have them on the
Make us aware of
podcast.
it. I would love to interview a frogger. All right. What else? Anything else, guys? That's it, I think, right? We
I think
got
that's it for now. We've got a big week
Yeah.
next week.
know.
Looking forward. I'm not looking forward to the final results. These are not the two teams that I think I wanted to see in, but they both earned their way in, and you got to respect Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes because, my God, no one thought they could do it last year, and they did it, and everyone really thought they were done this year, and they're right back in it. And Brock Purdy doing what he's doing with that team is pretty incredible too.
Does Taylor Swift make it to the Super Bowl?
Yeah,
in
easily,
time?
easily. I mean, have you seen the video about the Taylor Swift math matching up with the Super Bowl? You got the 1 seed against the 3 seed, 13, her favorite number. The time it's
Oh
going to
my
take to
God.
fly to Vegas is 13 hours. You've got 100 minus 87. Kelsey's number is 13.
We
Super
got to
Bowl-
shut down the internet.
Super Bowl 58,
We got to
5
shut it
plus,
down.
plus 8 is 13. Like, it's a bunch of different things that just all add up to 13, and it's ridiculous.
The negative is
and
outweighing the
fun.
pros.
Yeah.
The negative is just too much now. So that's
But
it. We got to shut it down.
She did add, according to reports, she's added $351 million to the value of the Chiefs franchise just by simply showing up to their games this year. Oh, and this game she's going to make, the Super Bowl, it will be the 13th time that she sees Travis Kelce play this season.
Wow. She made it to 13 games?
Yeah.
Wow. That's probably.
Well, if she makes it, she's made it to 12 so far, so she's got to get there. But if and
I don't
when
think
she
my
does-
wife's seen me do stand up 13 times in our fucking 20-year relationship. And we got engaged at one of our shows.
Yeah.
Fucking
Well.
crazy to me. All right. That's the podcast, you fucks. I love you all. And we'll talk to you soon. Next week's fucking Super Bowl, guys. Come on.
Yeah. Go Bills.
Go Bills.
Thank you very much for joining me. How you been? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Steve Renazizi.